other recurring attacks by gunmen, leading to killings and destruction of properties and farmlands, thereby rendering many homeless with no means of sustenance. Worried that Agojeju Odo, Ajokpachi Odo, Bagaji, and Bagana communities have been ravaged by recent gunmen, rendering over 30,000 inhabitants of the communities homeless, leading to exodus of these inhabitants to other parts of Kogi State. Disturbed that on 5th April 2024, armed headers invaded the Agojeju Odo, Ajokpachi Odo, Bagaji, and Bagana communities, killing 21 innocent citizens, including women and children, in addition to unprecedented destruction of their farm produce. Alarmed that on 30th April 2024, gunmen attacked Ajokpachi Odo community in Omala local government area, killing no fewer than 3 persons and rendering the entire community desolate, with no health facility to cater for the deteriorating health conditions of the survivors. Further alarmed that the attacks on these communities in Omala local government area have resulted in the killing of over 500 citizens, in addition to wanton destruction of public and private properties worth hundreds of millions of naira. Concerned that after much persuasion, the displaced persons have resolved to return to their ancestral homes, but cannot afford shelters and have no means of sustenance. Further concerned that educational institutions have been destroyed, with many buildings and other facilities completely burnt down, thereby making it absolutely difficult for the children of the affected communities to access educational facilities. Regrets that the number of out-of-school children in the affected communities is disheartening, and this poses a serious danger to the future of the children, the communities, and the nation in general. Further regrets that apart from destruction of schools, health centers are obviously non-existent to cater for the health needs of the affected communities, as the few hitherto existing ones have been lost to the hostilities, and this has increased the rate of mortality in the affected communities. Cognizant that markets, business centers, shops, and various business outfits in the affected communities have been completely destroyed, thereby throwing the people to an inevitable state of economic helplessness. Accordingly, the Senate resolves to observe a minute silence for the departed souls in the Omana local government area of Kogi State. 2. Urge the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, and the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to assist the affected communities in the Omana local government area of Kogi State with relief materials and other forms of supports necessary for their rehabilitation. Equally, urge the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, and NEMA to provide minimal seed capitals for the women and youths in the community to facilitate their various economic activities. I so move, Your President.
Distinguished Senator representing Plateau Central Senatorial District, President of the Senate and my colleagues, I rise to support the motion moved by our brother from Kogi and what he desires to achieve. My colleagues, leaving people at IDPs is creating a very strange behavior amongst our citizens. And therefore, any effort and desire to get people back to their original homes is healthy to the society. Most times, when IDPs last too long, our children, morale, and so many moral issues become the order of the day. I rise to support, sir, that even after reading this motion, the Committee on Compliance should look into our resolutions, because in most times when we make resolutions, the ability to comply becomes very difficult. I pray that we will support this motion, and subsequently all the prayers in the motion should be seen that the necessary MDAs comply to enable our citizens get back to their original homes, especially that this is also a season for farming. If they don't get back to their homes, farming activities will be very difficult for them. And this will go a long way to even affect food security in our country. I rise to support this, and I believe that we will all support this. And for all other IDPs in our country that people have not returned, we should encourage the return of IDPs to their original homes. I thank you, Mr. President.
President, My name is Senator Victor Ume, OFR. I represent Anambra Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, I rise to speak on this very grave situation again in Omala local government area of Kogi State. Mr. President, I think the problem we have continued to have is that this issue of herdsmen ravaging communities across states of the Federation, we have not been able to deal with it decisively. Even this motion itself started by saying gunmen attacked these communities. Gunmen. It was when he got to the third paragraph that he said, disturbed that herders attacked another community and killed 21 persons. It's good that to give something the good caption and begin to look for ways of addressing it. I've looked at even the prayers contained in the motion. None was directed at solving the problem of herders invading communities. We're talking about getting the NEMA and people to supply relief and to people who have been displaced. The herders should be told that what they're doing is business. If you do cattle rearing, it's business. That's a type of farming. And those who do not want to confine their business to a particular location and breed their cattle should be told that they don't have open latitude to move into people's land, kill people who are living there, displace them, and ravage the community and annihilate them. And we'll continue to have this type of report in the Senate on a regular basis. In the 8th Senate, we saw a lot of this happening in Nasarawa, Benue, Taraba, parts of the north. And up to today, the same herders are still ravaging. They are now in Kogi. So I think that an action should be taken to ban this type of migrant grazing with cattle across Nigeria. We must have to do things the way they are done in civilized nations. Ranching has been proposed, time without number, that we should be able to put our cattle in confined settlements and nurture them, breed them, and then produce meat. Because that's the thing. If all the cattle you consume in the United Kingdom, you see them on the streets of the United Kingdom or England, nobody sees these things on the road. It's only here that we can stay, and every morning, herders will invade a community, kill 30 persons, touch the houses, burn their properties, displace them, and we have no solution to it. Nigeria should be planning on how to put an end to this scourge of herders displacing people in their ancestral homes, because they bring their cattle down, move into people's ancestral lands when they are sleeping. They kill them, burn their houses, and we get this report continuously, and these herders are still moving around. So we must put a stop to it. Let us find a way of putting a stop to it, even by legislation. We should ban migrant grazing. If we put a law and ban it, anybody who is moving with cattle, 20, 30, 40, is running foul of the law on the road. How much more into people's farms? You destroy their crops, destroy their means of livelihood, burn down their schools, burn down their health facilities, and they go away. Nobody is talking about how to apprehend them and put a stop to this. So, Mr. President, I feel gravely concerned that our inability to rein in herders' activities in Nigeria has been responsible for this recurring loss of lives and destruction of properties. Let us look for a way of making it illegal for anybody to carry cattle around the country. They should be able to build ranches. This is what I'm saying. So this one now that Esa Jibrin has brought, as very painful as it is, people have lost their lives, about 500 reported in this motion. Who will bring those people back to life? Are we saying that people can be killed for cattle to be reared, for us to eat meat? Who will eat the meat? When the people who eat the meat are being killed on a daily basis. This is a barbaric type of famine. We should be able to be courageous to put a stop to it. This, his prayers, when we get to that, I think I will make a contribution on the prayers. Getting relief.
Thank you.
And all that to them will not solve the problem. We have to attack the root cause of the problem, which is migrant grazing with cattle. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Around the country, and that means you provide the necessary infrastructure and also provide the necessary security for those ranchers to be able to do their work. And it's a good suggestion, but it will have to come by way of a bill. Distinguished Senator Oshimole.
I don't have the numbers, but I guess there is hardly any other, virtually every other day or every other week, we have had to pass motions about these killings. We have had to invite the security chiefs to tell us what they are doing differently, etc., etc. And sometimes I ask myself, these people who have been killed, do our 1 or 10 minute silence really brought silence to their homes and their families? Are we going to accept this as a way of life in our country? This has been on for several years. I think our purpose, Mr. President, is no longer to take this thing on ad hoc basis. When they occur, we cry, we do 1 minute silence, they ask for relief. No relief for a man who is dead. What manner of release are you giving to a man who is gruesomely murdered? I feel, listen to Mr. President, your last comment, I find some courage that we can build on it. That maybe under your leadership, sir, this Senate should set up an ad hoc committee and carefully select the membership in a way that we reflect the political diversity and conduct a public hearing. This act must stop. And we can't stop it by words of mouth. Resolutions don't change. So if we have a comprehensive public hearing, we have people who are trained to deal with this aspect of business. What do we do differently? Because we were not always like this. How did we get here? Such a public hearing, I'm sure there are well-meaning Nigerians who share our concern. These ones that I mentioned, they are not the only one. Even in my small village, are other villages that are not on Nigeria map. Nigeria farmers are unable to go to work. I found that in some cases where the DPO is properly briefed, they are able to comb the bush, and they find where some people set up some temporary homes where they kidnap, they maim, and they rape. These people are visible. And sometimes I wonder if somebody liked the will to deal with them. On a particular occasion, I saw a poor farmer went to farm, and they just shot at his hand in his own community. And I was tempted to say, do anybody have monopoly of violence? But then as leaders, we can't ask everybody to take law into their hands. Because I think on a deeper investigation, maybe everybody is a victim. So I want to plead with you, sir, that although his motion has, in my opinion, of limited effect, that we take advantage of this to set up an ad hoc committee, conduct a public hearing, invite people who are knowledgeable in the universities, community leaders, farmers, security agencies, and let us look at a holistic solution where legislation is required. Under your leadership, I am sure you have the will for us to so legislate. Where enforcement is the issue, we identify those who are lacking their capacity to enforce. What we owe these people goes beyond rhetoric, go beyond condemnation, go beyond 1 minute silence, go beyond crying every day. No, our tears will solve this problem. I submit, sir, that we set up an ad hoc committee, invite public hearing, let it be well publicized, let everybody come there and share with us what they know, enrich our limited knowledge of what is going on across the country, and let us find once and for us a lasting, sustainable solution so that this country can be what it used to be, and our farmers can go to work, herders can do their business. What is good for herders is not bad for farmers. What is bad for farmers is not good for herders. Together, we can find a win-win solution so that Nigerian rural people can be at peace, instead of those of us who have migrated to Abuja and some other urban places. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Karimi.
Colleagues, the Senate President, this topic is very dear to my mind, but just for information, I would like to appreciate your suggestion for that commission. I think it will go a long way in sorting some of the few issues, rough edges in this arrangement. Whatever decisions we take, we are not supporting the headers in any way. We do not approve what they are doing, but if we do not source for a source of safe livelihood for them, we might not be able to get to the end of this problem. Distinguished President, I'm a header. I have a farm outside Abuja here. I told you, you know about it. The whole value of that farm is less than 80 million naira. I spend 90 million naira annually to feed those cows. If not for passion, tell me, how can a peasant person be able to do ranching in this country without government help? Without help, there is no way a peasant herder will be able to do ranching. If we establish this and we give money, how do we ensure that money is put to good use? Everybody remembers the good thinking of Senator Jibril Aminu when he brought nomadic education, with the hope of changing and reorientating their mindset towards this problem we are having some 25, 30 years back. Unfortunately, the Senate President, if you look at the quantum of money that was taken for this project with very little to show for it, it will amaze you that this country is not lacking in giving money. What we are lacking is the money be put to good use. And as long as we don't do that, we will be having the same problem all over. But I still want to commend Senator from Kogi for this motion. Distinguished President, my people from my senatorial district came to me during Salah. Our life is under threat. As a senator representing them, I tell them to go and see the governor. They made a convoy and went to see the governor. Unfortunately, the governor was not on his seat. They went back. A week later, they were attacked and 20 of them were killed in Dan Umaru village. And then we rushed to go and condole them. I feel pain. We agreed with the Nigerian security when we were here that certain places that are prone to attacks, they will establish a front bases there. In my senatorial district, they have identified 3. They've set up 1. That one alone has reduced our banditry by more than 80%. The remaining 2, as I'm talking to you, 1 year today, they have not established it. And if we appropriate money to the Nigerian army, and they are telling us they cannot set off a base until the governor gives them money, I think we have a problem. My governor was telling us that every month he spent 500 million on the Nigerian army. 500 million naira monthly. Where is the money we are giving them?
Are you sure the money got to them?
Well, that was what he said, sir. I'm not sure.
So just put it that unverified report.
No, I mean, I'm quoting the governor, sir, of Kebbi State. So I think If the Nigerian army will rely on the governors to give them money for them to mobilize for operation, I think this country, we are not making any headway. Thank you very much for this opportunity, the Senate President.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name is Ahmed Lawan. I represent Yobe North. Mr. President, let me commend our friend and brother and colleague, Senator Isaac Green, for this, and of course, condole the people of his senatorial district. We are all aware that the clashes between the herdsmen and farmers has been a very long-standing phenomenon across the country, and the banditry that subsequently came into play has caused a lot of life. And Mr. President, there is no section of this country that has not or does not suffer from this. Initially, most of it was happening in the north. But today, it has consumed the entire country. So to me, Mr. President, this issue is a security issue as much as it is an economic issue. And when we discuss this, I think we should have no hold back. And I mean here, we should say it as it is because we are looking for solutions. Some of the things I may say may not be pleasant, but I'm convinced that they will help us in finding lasting and enduring solutions. Mr. President, we must continue to protect the lives and property of our citizens. This is the most important essence of government, like we all know. But like one of our colleagues here have said, Mr. President, the history of how the herdsmen, particularly the Fulanis, turn from herdsmen, real herdsmen, genuine herdsmen, pastoralists, into some of them being bandits today, killing across the country, will give us an idea of what happened. Here you have a people who don't have any means of livelihood but to rear their animals. And like we all know, certain things happened. Animal or livestock wrestling or cattle wrestling, many of them lost their cattle, most of them. And of course we know that they don't know any other thing. So, Mr. President, today as it is, the livestock industry is worth 30 trillion naira. In fact, some authorities will tell you it's 33 trillion naira in Nigeria. So this is a very important industry, and we cannot neglect it. While we deal with those who kill our people, we must be looking at the possibility, the necessity, and imperative of making government, the federal government particularly, to see how to resuscitate the lives and livelihood of those who are willing to remain within the boundaries of the law. Somebody will tell you, well, it's business. What can be more business than banking? As a government, we gave banks the opportunity, some of them will steal money, and today we are neck deep in AMCON with funds stolen. by major people in this country. They say it's toxic, so government of Nigeria should take. Nigerians, it's your responsibility. We gave money to this course and Gen course, Mr. President. This course was sold, all the 11. And even after they were sold, privatized, government was still giving them money, up to 1.4 trillion. Why should we do that? This industry, the livestock industry, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, is a major industry. We have to have a way, and I like the idea of conducting a national summit. I don't know how it will look like, but it is very important, Mr. President, you lead the Senate to have a national summit on livestock development and then the subsequent insecurity that we face. I don't know when those who know better will sit and come up with something. But let me round up, Mr. President. I believe that we have to be very decisive, funding our security agencies to protect our people and their property. But I also believe that government should have a responsibility. The government should take the gauntlet, provide something to sustain the lives of the people who didn't know anything but rearing of animals. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Motion. And it will be good for us to look at the prayers. The new Senator Zam, nobody from that angle has spoken. So you want to say something?
Yes, sir. The Senator Dr. Titus Zam, I represent Benue Northwest Senatorial District. Mr. President, if you listen even from the tone of my voice, you will know that I am bleeding internally as a result of some of the reactions that have accompanied this motion from my brother, the senator from Kogi. Mr. President, all over the world, what guides human behavior is enabling laws. Only law can determine whether our behavior is right or wrong. The Senate is the highest law-making institution in this country. The issue of farmers' herders' crisis has defied all security efforts. The only option that is yet explored is that of having a law prohibiting open grazing in this country. Once you have that law in place, those who engage in animal husbandry, we now know that it is unlawful to carry animals from Zamfara to Makodi, and along the way, you kill everybody on the route, leading to wherever you want to go. Once that law is not there, then everybody becomes free to now carry arms and move freely into other people's communities. Because some people have advantage of being in power in this country. They have advantage of developing themselves economically such that they are able to amass weapons, which they now use to terrorize other parts of this country. And when we begin to justify that by saying other institutions, other people have misconducted themselves, but government has supported them in one or other, then we are indirectly justifying the killing of innocent people by those who engage in such acts. I therefore suggest that open grazing prohibition law must be enacted by this Senate so that those who engage in animal husbandry will be compelled to go by way of ranching so that the animals will be kept in one place. There is no reason whatsoever. If we have laws governing other aspects of our life. What is difficult in this Senate enacting a law to stop this free movement of animals and then the killing of people that accompany those who carry these animals in this country. That will be my suggestion, sir. I want to say here that by tomorrow, I will bring a bill on animal that will control animal husbandry in this country by way of going towards ranching. We don't have as much cows in Nigeria as we have in US and other parts of the country. But the animals are ranched. And so people don't have this problem. So how can we have those few animals in this country and then you carry them around, killing people and doing all kinds of things? Mr. President, I want to thank you for giving the privilege to talk. Thank you very much.
Additional solution. The issue is overflowed. So let's quickly look at the prayers and see if it's not deep enough, then we can go into additional prayers for the purpose of getting to the root cause of this matter. So prayer 1, observe a minute silence for the departed souls in Omala local government area of Kogi State and all other parts of Kogi State affected by these farmers' headers imbroglio. Those in support of prayer 1 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2, urge the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to assist the affected communities in Omala local government area of Kogi State and other communities so affected with relief materials and other forms of support necessary for their rehabilitation. Those in support of prayer 2 as amended say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 3, equally urge the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development and NEMA to provide minimal seed capitals for the women and youth in the affected communities to facilitate their various economic activities. Those in support of prayer 3 say aye. Those against say nay. The nays have it. Yes, Senator Mangunu.
Distinguished senators, my name is Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I represent Borno North Senatorial District. My additional prayer is to the effect that we urge the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security to create new grazing routes to compensate for the ones that has been encroached upon. You know, one of the major this conflict between the farmers and the herders is that all the grazing routes that we have before has been taken over as a result of development, urbanization and what have you. It has been encroached upon. That is why they now take their animals into farmlands. So if new grazing routes were created, it will go a long way to serve as a panacea to the problem of farmers' herders clashes. Thank you.
I rise to second the amendment, ably moved by...
I'm not really supposed to comment. Organization, where are you going to pass? Are you going to pass in universities, private mansions? Or are you, so, and how do you educate the farmers from outside West Africa that they already know, that are already traditionally aware of the old routes, of the new routes that you have created? And are you going to do that through the coastal roads, or are you doing it through people's buildings and schools? But the motion has been moved and seconded. Those who are in support of establishing new grazing routes. Yes, Senator Monguru. But the motion has been moved and seconded.
Yes.
By our rules, we have to put the question.
Okay.
Those in support of the creation of new routes for grazing, say aye. Those against, say nay. The nays have it. Yes, Senator.
Point of order.
Point of order.
Point of order, I will say. Senator Jim Ibrahim, additional prayer?
Yes. I agree that there is need to take a comprehensive, find a holistic solution. So I want to propose as additional prayer that the Senate resolved to set up an ad hoc committee that will work towards a national summit involving all the stakeholders such that we can together find a lasting solution. I am not going to try to anticipate what the suggestions will be, but all the stakeholders, whether they are headers, they are farmers, they are academics, they are researchers, those who are familiar with ranching, how to manage the challenges, etc., and even involve people from the states, because when it comes to ranching, the land under the present Land Use Act belongs to state governors. So a national approach, coordinated, I am sure together, since we are all lucky in this country, there is no escape route for anyone. We want Nigeria to work for the benefit of all. So such a summit can come out with doables. The one that they require legislation, we deal with it. The one that requires security, we deal with it. The one that requires more appropriation to deal with specific things that might emerge from the summit, the National Assembly will accordingly appropriate and identify the appropriate agency to manage it. I so move, Mr. President.
Yes, any seconder?
Thank you, Mr. President. Abdulaziz Musa Adua, representing the good people of Katsina Central.
I revenge, they in turn will wait in the night, come out and ravage the community, attack the community, and displace persons. So it's almost like an ongoing affair. And then, of course, from the prayers here, we have proposed another committee, which should be at least one person per zone, to work out a holistic approach towards a sustainable solution. So I thank my colleagues and thank all of you, and thank the Senior Senator Issa Jibrin for this. Can we now observe a minute silence in honor of the dead? May the souls of all the departed who lost their lives in the Omala local government area of Kogi State through banditry, through herdsmen, and farmers' clashes rest in perfect peace. Amen. Senator Asuku.